There is a nest somewhere near your house. You know exactly the one I mean. It might be under the eave of the porch, in the corner where the gutter meets the roof. It might be in the shed, in the part of the shed you no longer go into. It might be in the hedge by the fence, the one you trim around now instead of through. Wherever it is, you have learned to walk a slightly different path because of it. You have rearranged your own home around it. You have been thinking about that nest for weeks, maybe months. The thing you have not considered, the thing that almost nobody considers, is that the nest has been thinking about you for exactly as long. And it knows considerably more about you than you know about it. The wasp sitting at the entrance right now, the one you can see if you look closely, small, brown, motionless, is not a guard standing watch against a generic threat. It is watching for a specific shape, a specific face, a specific person whose previous behavior has been logged and remembered and discussed. It is watching for you. You think you have never given that nest a second thought. The nest disagrees. Welcome to Insect Whisper. Subscribe before you leave because what you are about to learn will change the way you walk through your own garden. And stay until the end because the strangest part of this story is not what the wasp remembers. It is who else in the nest she is telling. Let me tell you about the wasp. She was born in that nest in early summer in a paper cell built by her mother. She has never traveled more than about 100 meters from where she emerged. Her entire world is a circle drawn around the structure she was born in, and inside that circle, she has spent every day of her short adult life mapping every shape that moves through it. She knows the dog. She knows the dog's schedule, the angle the dog approaches from, the fact that the dog has never come closer than the patch of grass by the fence. The dog is not a threat. She knows the cat. The cat is more interesting because the cat hunts, and the cat sometimes hunts wasps. But the cat is small and slow and easily avoided. She knows the postman. The postman comes to the door, drops something through the slot, and leaves. The postman has never approached the nest. The postman is background. And she knows you. She knows you differently than she knows the others, because at some point, maybe last summer, maybe 2 summers ago, maybe last week, something happened between you and her nest. You don't remember it. To you, it was a moment of mild annoyance, a swat at the air, a step backward, a spray from a can, a stick poked at something hanging from the eave. To the nest, it was the most important event of that day, and it was the day your face was added to the file. The wasp at the entrance knows your face. Not in the abstract way you might recognize a stranger on the street, but in the precise, attentive way you recognize a face you have decided you do not like. This is the part that almost nobody believes the first time they hear it. Paper wasps, Polistes fuscatus, the common brown wasps you have probably seen building open, papery umbrella-shaped nests in eaves and sheds, can recognize individual faces. Not just shapes, not just patterns of color. Faces. Each wasp has a slightly different arrangement of yellow markings on its own face, and the other wasps can tell them apart by sight, the same way you can tell your friends apart from strangers in a crowd. This was discovered, almost by accident, by a researcher at the University of Michigan a little over a decade ago. She noticed the markings varied. She wondered if the wasps noticed too. She built an experiment that asked them to tell faces apart. They could. That alone would be remarkable. Brains the size of a sesame seed performing a task we used to think required a brain like ours. But the experiment also showed something stranger. When she gave the wasps other visual problems, shapes, patterns, colors, They were merely okay at it. When she gave them faces, they were good. Their brains were not generally good at visual learning. Their brains were specifically good at faces. There is a part of your brain that does the same thing. A small region behind your right ear that lights up for faces and almost nothing else. It is the reason you can pick your mother out of a crowd from across a room in a fraction of a second without thinking. The wasp does not have that region of brain. She has, instead, an entire visual system that has been quietly tuned by evolution to do the same job on a different scale for a different reason. That reason is politics. A paper wasp nest is not a peaceful place. It looks peaceful. It hangs there, motionless most of the time, with wasps coming and going in unhurried trips. But the society inside it is intensely social, intensely hierarchical, and intensely personal. There are dominant wasps and subordinate wasps. There are sisters who get along and sisters who fight. There are alliances. There are grudges. The order of who outranks whom is reshuffled constantly, and the only way to keep track of who is who in a colony of dozens of nearly identical insects is to recognize each face individually. This is what their face recognition system was built for. It was built so that a wasp returning to the nest after a foraging trip could be greeted as sister, not intruder. It was built so that a dominant wasp could recognize the subordinate who challenged her yesterday and react accordingly today. It was built for them. But the architecture is general. A system that can distinguish one wasp face from another is, by definition, a system that can distinguish one face from another. And the things that move through the nest's airspace are not only wasps. There is, for example, you. The wasp at the entrance has watched your face come and go through her territory for as long as you have lived in this house. She has watched it from a distance, from a closer distance, from the underside of the eave as you stood 3 feet away pretending the nest was not there. She has watched it the day you came at the nest with intent. She remembers what that face looked like that day. She knows what that face usually looks like. She knows the difference. When you walk into the garden, she is not surprised. She has been expecting you. There is another piece of this, and it is the part that makes people uncomfortable. You might assume that even if one wasp recognizes you, that knowledge dies with her. Wasps do not live long. The wasp at the entrance today will probably not be alive in a month. So even if she remembers you, surely her memory is hers alone, and surely it disappears when she does. It does not. A paper wasp nest is a colony, and colonies share information. When a wasp returns to the nest agitated, wings raised, posture rigid, the particular pattern of vibration and chemical signal that means something just happened, the nest responds. The aggression level of the entire colony rises. The wasps near the entrance become more reactive. The next forager leaving the nest leaves already primed, already on edge, already expecting trouble. This is not a learned response in the human sense. The colony does not sit down and discuss what happened. But functionally, the effect is the same as discussion. The bad encounter one wasp had with you 10 minutes ago is now affecting the behavior of every wasp in the nest, including the ones who never saw you. And if one of those wasps now sees your face in the airspace they share, the response will be sharper than it otherwise would have been. Your reputation, in other words, is not held by one wasp. It is held by the nest. And the nest persists. New wasps emerge from the comb every few weeks throughout the summer. They inherit the behavioral state of the colony they are born into, the aggression level, the alertness, the readiness to respond. They do not need to have personally met you to react to you. They just need to have been born into a colony that has, collectively, decided you are a problem. This explains something that has been observed for centuries and never properly accounted for. In every family, on every street, in every workplace that has a wasp nest nearby, There is one person who gets stung. You probably know who it is in your house. It is the same person every year. The neighbors next door, working in the same kind of garden, never get stung. The kids run past the nest all summer without incident. But this one specific person on this one specific lawn gets stung repeatedly. And everyone agrees the wasps just don't like them, the way you might say a dog doesn't like someone. The traditional explanation has been chemistry. Sweat, perfume, soap, the color of clothing, the breath you exhale. All of these are real factors, and all of them matter, but they may not be the whole story. The wasps may simply remember. The one person who gets stung may be the person whose face was logged 2 summers ago, on the day someone reached up to knock the small gray thing off the eave. They might not have done it intentionally. They might not even remember doing it. But the nest remembers. The nest persists. And every wasp emerging into it inherits, quietly, the colony's opinion of that face.
The wasp at the entrance is still there. She has not moved. She is still watching you. There is nothing in her behavior that gives away what she knows about you. She's not threatening. She is not posturing. She is just sitting in the entrance of a small paper structure built by her mother, in a corner of a garden you think of as yours, doing the job her colony built her to do, which is to know, in fine detail, every shape that moves through the airspace around the nest, and to recognize by face the ones that have caused trouble before. You will walk past her today. You will probably walk past her tomorrow. For as long as the nest hangs there, you will walk past her every day of the summer, and every day she will see you, and every day the file will be updated. You do not remember her. You do not remember the last time you saw her or the time before that. To you, she is one of dozens of wasps you have not bothered to count. She remembers you. She remembers all of it. And she has been telling the others. So tell me in the comments, is there one person in your family or one person on your street who always seems to get stung when nobody else does? Now you might know who they upset and how long the nest has been waiting for them to come back. I read every comment. I'll see you in the next one.